Hello everyone, I'm Wasmatic and welcome to my second build guide video for the game of Fallout 4. This is a bit of an unusual build because I did say I was going to create a tank build, and I have. It's not as easy to play as I originally thought, but if you get it right and you get the sweet spot, you can really run in and bash down a room full of enemies or raiders or ghouls particularly, before you get touched. But it is a very delicate balance, and I don't think I've got it 100% right on my first pass, but I'm going to tell you where I think I've got it wrong, and I'll go on to tell you where I think you should perhaps take my build and amend it to make it a little bit more powerful. It's really good. You can use your fists, Knuckledusters, or you can use melee weapons, or you can use both. I've actually got a plank at the moment with some circular saws on the end of it, and as you can see here, it absolutely bashes through power armor, destroying it on this particular occasion. I didn't actually get to loot the power armor off the raider because, as you can see, he falls into the water. But there you go. So this is the build. It's a Ghoul tank build, as I'm calling it. So it uses radiation to heal, and it uses melee weapons, and it's focused on damage mitigation as opposed to damage avoidance, high hit points, and an inordinate amount of drug and alcohol use. So, parents, if you're watching, I'm not saying I condone the use of drugs and alcohol. What I'm saying is, in the game, that will help you power your character and make your character playable. I'll go in and I'll dive in now and start to look at the perks. I started off when I was looking at this build with... I accidentally went to level 8 in strength. You need strength because you need to do lots of damage. So let's have a look. Just a quick reminder. Strength is a measure of your raw physical power. It affects how much you can carry and the damage of melee attacks. So obviously you need that as high as possible. I think I should have had that at least level 9. So I put 8 points in it at the outset. And unfortunately I think I should have put... I got my calculations wrong. I should have put... I should have got that to level 9. So there you go. If you want to, you could put that to level 10 and maximise the bonus to melee damage from your strength. So you're looking at 8, 9 or 10 points in your strength. And then secondly, you will want, as a starter, you will want 8, 9 or 10 points in endurance. So I've actually got down to level 9 in endurance because I knew I wanted to get ghoulish, which is, as you can see there, radiation regenerates your lost health. At the second rank, radiation regenerates more of your lost health, and at the third rank, radiation regenerates more lost health again, and some feral ghouls will randomly become friendly. I haven't seen that happen yet, but I'm only rank 1. The perks I would advise you to take. Now this is where I think I've got a bit to learn. I have put 2 points into Iron Fists to increase my melee damage, and I've put 2 points into Big Leagues, which increases melee weapon damage. 1 for fists, 1 for melee weapons. I appreciate there is a level cap on these, but my suggestion is that you focus on one as far as possible. And potentially I would suggest focusing on Big Leagues first and getting points into that at every single opportunity, simply because if you spread your points, I find sometimes I'm not doing as much damage as I could or I'd want to. One of the downsides to this build, of course, is that you're only doing one type of damage unless you can loot a shock baton from one of the Institute synths. So there you go. So you need either Iron Fist or Big League. I've taken both, and it gives me the flexibility to switch between Knuckledusters and melee weapons. These two really, really important. You're going to have to do some crafting rather than looted weapons, especially in the early stages, because the low level weapons do not have a high damage output. So you're really going to want to take blacksmith at every opportunity that you can, and modify the weapons that you loot. There is a weapon called Gronyak's Axe, which I believe you need lockpicking to pick up, and that's at Hubris Comics, which is not too far from the Swan in downtown, northeast of Diamond City. So blacksmith and armourer, very important. Armourer is particularly important because this build being a tanky build, your endurance, which you've got 8, 9 or 10 points in depending on your preference, your endurance will give you an increase in your health pool. But I found that dependent upon the type of armour I was wearing, I was actually taking a reasonable amount, quite a high level of damage in some scenarios. So you're really going to want to increase your armour protection as much as possible. I'm currently using metal armour, and I've increased that as far as I can at the moment. I think I've not got buttressed. What have I got now? Let's have a look. I'm using lightwood alloyed, that's it. So I've enhanced my armour to get alloyed. So there you go. Strength, 8, 9 or 10 points depending on your preference. I would recommend getting to 9 because if you're standing still when you're doing melee damage, you get increased melee and unarmed damage attacks do 25% more damage. So you just need to stand still to get a 25% boost. That seems pretty powerful to me. And a 25 damage resistance. Again, that's pretty powerful. And as you go through the ranks there, you can see that you automatically disarm enemies that use melee weapons against you, and you get to 50 damage resistance and 50% more damage. That's really powerful. So I'm going to be going for that. So I'm going to be looking at, if you get 1 point at the outset, so you'll get that. So it's 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 points. So you want 9 points in strength. Secondly, endurance, you want as high as possible. I would suggest putting 9 points into that, and that will get you down to ghoulish. And then if you can put a point in that as soon as possible, radiation will heal you. So when you're fighting ghouls particularly, that will give you a real advantage. Plus you can walk near radiation and heal yourself. The downside is you still take radiation poisoning. So you will still take a hit on your total health points from radiation. Other really vitally important points that you need to put in wherever you get the opportunity. Toughness. You want as much damage resistance as early on as possible. I need to put a point in that again, but damage resistance, vitally important. Secondly, health. You want to get your hit points up as high as possible, so you need to get some points into Life Giver. So I would suggest 9 points into strength, 9 points into endurance at the start. That's 18 points. From there, and this is where I think I went wrong, I put points into luck. So I actually got my luck down because I wanted Idiot Savant, which is really highly amusing when you see it trigger. It's well, as it says there. There you go. You're not stupid, just different. I think my wife would probably agree. What it does is it gives you a bonus to XP on a random event. So it's a bit of random numbers RNG type affair, which I don't normally, for those of you who watch my videos, I don't normally go for an RNG trigger, but I thought on this occasion I would try it because I didn't want to put points into intelligence. So I went for luck simply because I wanted the XP boost from Idiot Savant to increase the XP gains because I don't have any intelligence. That, I think I've put some subsequent points in. Either that or I managed to gain some points somewhere, because at the start of the character, whilst you're supposed to have only 21 points, I started with 24 available. So I managed to do an 8, 8 and an 8 there, as you can see. And I've subsequently since gained an extra point in perception from the perception bobblehead. So, but I'm looking at the luck tree now, and apart from the fact that luck gives you a measure of good fortune, so you'll hit more legendary mobs and more legendary items in loot. Affects the recharge rate of critical hits. I don't use V.A.T.S that much, so I use the V.A.T.S system only as an oh shit when I need to get a really big hit on, because it looks like I'm going to take a dive. Fortune Finder, I haven't put any points in. This is another reason. So Idiot Savant and Bloody Mess are the two reasons that I took luck originally. And Bloody Mess is fantastic. When it triggers, it'll explode, and it will also explode people all around. And as you go through the levels, you can see it increases your total damage done. This pointless because I don't use V.A.T.S that much. Idiot Savant. So there you go. So better criticals. That's again, I don't use them that much. So I think in hindsight, whilst I went for an 8 and an 8 and an 8 there, or a 9 and a 9 there, in strength and endurance, my suggestion would be go for charisma. You're going to need money, and I think I would opt for putting 3 points into charisma at least, so you can get to Lone Wanderer. You take 15% less damage, which really is an enormous contribution to the tank nature of the build. So 15% less damage, and as you increase that, 30% less damage, and you do 25% more damage. Now, in talking to the chaps on live stream over the last few nights, we are postulating the theory that the companion title doesn't apply to the dog. I'm not sure whether that's true or not, but you get an increased carry weight there, as you can see, of 100. That's enormous, and you also take 30% less damage, so it gives you the carry weight. You don't need the companion, and obviously you're a big tank as well. Now I find sometimes the dog gets in the way, so my suggestion is don't do what I did and go down the luck tree just to get Bloody Mess and Idiot Savant. My suggestion is that you go for charisma. Get some of those persuade options in the dialogue with the NPCs, and get to Lone Wanderer, so you can get that increased carrying capacity and damage reduction. I think that would play into the nature of this build more significantly than just going for this damage output from luck. It's up to you, obviously, which you want to go down. If you went down this route, you could go to getting your dog to causing them to bleed. So that's it. So my suggestion is strength 9 points, endurance 9 points, that's 18, and then you've got 1, 2, 3 points in there, which would take you to 21. So there's your point allocation. This is a great build, it's fun to play. The other element I should mention is this build relies very heavily on the consumption of drugs and alcohol, and as a result of that you need to manage your addictions. You need to be crafting at a chemistry station as often as possible. So I use Jet, Med-X and Psycho Jet. So I've already developed an addiction to Med-X. I use anything that enhances strength, enhances endurance, and I also use, in those oh shit moments, I use the Psycho Jet or Psycho Jet to slow down time. That's very useful. So I'll normally stack up a pile of drugs and whiskey and vodka to increase your strength. So that is in the endurance tree. I would recommend taking toughness, I would recommend taking life giver, and I would recommend taking ghoulish. Now you may want to put points into things like cannibal. You may want to put points into adamantium skeleton. That might be quite useful, because I'm finding in melee combat, as opposed to my assassin, in melee combat you take a lot of limb damage. You take an awful lot of limb damage, so you may want to consider putting some points into that. It's particularly painful if you take limb damage. If you're using a one-handed weapon and you take some limb damage, you can no longer use that weapon. And that, obviously in a fight, that's it, it's game over. So you need to run away or stop taking stim packs to fix your limbs. I wouldn't bother with the Aqua Boy, the radiation in water. I mean, you can stand in water to heal if you use ghoulish. You don't want radiation resistance, I don't think, because you want that to heal you. So that's it, and you could take lead belly if you wanted. So it's strength, endurance, and then my suggestion is take charisma. You could, if you wanted to, take agility, but that will only give you an increased number of action points in V.A.T.S if you choose to use V.A.T.S in melee combat. I don't. I just run around and bludgeon people. Like I said, in this I've used luck. I've taken luck in my build, and I would suggest not doing that. I would suggest you're better off using charisma. So strength, endurance, charisma. That's it. It's been fun building this build, it's been fun playing it, but not as much fun as my assassination build. But as you can see in this video, you can run into a room and pretty much clear it of raiders or enemies in one hit. The other bit that I should mention is the power attacks you can do in melee combat, if you're using your fists, the power attacks can give you some really nice manoeuvres. So you have the option to break people's necks, to kick their legs out from underneath them when they're on the floor, just punch them repeatedly in the head until they die. So all in all, it's just a good, fun, good-natured, healthy, all-round family game. That's it from me. Thank you very much for watching. I hope this build is of interest to you. I'm not sure what build to do yet. I was talking to one of the chaps on live stream last night, Oakley, and he's talking about doing an all-intelligence build, which I think sounds quite interesting. But I might actually do a heavy weapons tank build. I don't know. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Click a like, please, if you like it, because it really helps to for me to get feedback. And I will see you on the next one. Thanks very much for watching. Bye for now.